John Fugelsang is going to be putting on a special performance at Stand Up New York, 236 West 78th Street, New York, 1024, this Thursday, October 2nd, 8 p.m. To 10 p.m. It's free. For free tickets, go to click the link for Stand Up New York on our website, and also presumably the American Dream Project, and johnfugelsang.com. In fact, let's ask John about that. John, welcome to the program.
Hello, Tom. Thank you so much for having me. What a pleasure to be back on your show.
It is always a pleasure, John. Tell us about this gig.
Well, sure. As I got to mention to you last night on your excellent TV show, by the way, everybody who only listens to Thom Hartmann on the radio is cheating themselves as a human being experiencing life if you're not watching the TV show. But we DVR you every night in this house.
Bless you.
But this is a film that I began to do last year after I was working for Current TV, and one day had the experience so many Americans have of coming into work one day and learning that my company had been sold to a foreign buyer, and I was now going to be out of a job. And when I joined the ranks of the unemployed, I really felt like I was tired of talking about the issues of downward mobility and rising inequality in a studio, experience it firsthand. So I was approached by Roger Weisberg. He's a two-time Oscar-nominated director who's made over 30 documentaries for PBS. And Roger had a very interesting idea, which was to follow the journey Alexis de Tocqueville took when he came to the States in 1831 to write Democracy in America. Now, as you know, Tom, Tocqueville was a 26-year-old French aristocrat who was sent here by a monarchy he despised to write a report on the prison system of the 55-year-old American Republic. And along the way, he began really getting more into writing about the culture, the commerce, the religion, the society of the young America. And it was the largest country that had ever attempted a democracy. Tocqueville deplored how blacks and Indians were treated. He pitied how women were treated. But along the way, he began writing this philosophical treatise that was also a work of sociology, that was also a work of journalism. And he published Democracy in America, which is credited for being the book that planted the seeds of the very idea of the American dream. The idea behind this film was to travel to every city Tocqueville visited almost 200 years later and talk to Americans of every possible background, from governors to undocumented teenage immigrants, about where the American dream is at right now, what are the greatest obstacles to upward mobility and the American dream, and what could be done to fix it. If government policies caused us to be in this problem, couldn't government policies get us out of it? So we did over 200 interviews in 17 states and over 50 cities, everybody from Mike Huckabee to Barney Frank to Paul Krugman to Alan Grayson is in this film. We have economists from Joe Stiglitz to, the conservative Neil Ferguson out of Harvard, as well as untold veterans and homeless shelters and people in their 60s on food stamps for the first time who can't believe it, undocumented families. We were shooting in rural obesity clinics in Mississippi. We've shot in Sing Sing prison and private prisons in Florida, charter schools in New Orleans. We were in the worst homeless shelter in all of Detroit. We saw nonviolent protesters get arrested outside the Boston Housing Court for protesting no-fault evictions. And we really tried to do as sweepingly comprehensive a look at what's happening in America right now, what caused all this inequality, and what some people are doing on the local level to turn it around. It'll be a feature film next year in theaters and festivals, and a miniseries on PBS the following year.
Wow, powerful stuff.
It's pretty heavy, yeah, and it's really right up your alley, because I feel like you're one of the journalists who does so much to talk about, income inequality. So it's not just some abstract, vague term. And one of the biggest things I learned was our problem's not income inequality. Every society has that. Our problem is 30 years of dramatically uneven income growth. And it's really, in many cases, a matter of shifting language to help people understand, in many cases, how corporate profits are at an all-time high, but minimum wage buying power is at a 40-year low.
Yeah, we're talking to John Fugelsang, political commentator, comedian, johnfugelsang.com, Stand Up New York, standupny.com also. And he's going to be doing a gig this Thursday, October 2nd at 8 p.m. in New York City, 236 West 78th Street, Stand Up New York. And it should be a lot of fun. You need tickets, but they're free. You can check those out on our website, John's website, all over the place. And Alexis de Tocqueville, there's a chapter in Democracy in America titled, "What Sort of Despotism Democratic Nations Have to Fear?" And he says, it would seem if despotism were to be established amongst the democratic nations, I'm reading from my book on equal protection, but I'm reading really from his book. It would seem if despotism were to be established amongst the democratic nations of our days, it might assume a different character. It would be more extensive and more mild. It would degrade men without tormenting them. I'm trying myself to choose an expression which will accurately convey the whole of the idea I've formed of it, but in vain. The old world's despotism and tyranny are inappropriate. The thing itself is new, and since I can't name it, I must attempt to define it. And then he goes through this whole thing, the innumerable multitude of people incessantly endeavoring to procure the petty and paltry pleasures to glut their lives. And then he says, it is too much to read here, but he talks about the will of man is not shattered, but softened, bent, and guided. Men are seldom forced by it to act, but they are constantly restrained from acting. Such a power does not destroy, but it prevents existence. It does not tyrannize, but it compresses, enervates, extinguishes, and stupefies a people till each nation is reduced to be nothing better than a flock of timid and industrious animals. I look at the protests in the streets of Hong Kong right now, where people are saying we want to be able to vote for candidates who have not been vetted by a political party, in this case, the Communist Party. And I wonder why Americans are not more often protesting the lack of candidates, of good candidates, or for that matter, why aren't Americans protesting the fact that Ohio and Wisconsin and North Carolina are all trying to suppress the vote?
Well, Marx said religion is the opium of the people. Marx never imagined 500 cable channels and porn on demand.
Right.
We are distracted to the death of our democracy, and I'm among those who believe that I'd love to hear the president use the bully pulpit to advocate not for just early voting, but really a voting week. As you well know, we vote on the first Tuesday in November because we're living by the strictures of the 19th century. Back then, you had to wait till the harvest was done, go to church on Sunday, and then it was presumed it would take you a full day to travel to a polling place. So the first Tuesday in November is when we all vote. In so many ways, even beyond religion, we're being controlled by the limitations and hang-ups of dead guys.
Right.
And you'd think in a democracy, you'd want people to try to get as many people voting as much as possible. The Tocqueville was big on civic engagement, of course, and that's something that, the internet and television has helped really kill off in our society. But as I learned when I was very young, when George Bush Sr. vetoed the motor voter bill, one of the most positive measures of my lifetime, a very simple law that would automatically register you to vote as soon as you got your driver's license and make it so much easier for full participation in our democracy. And Bush Sr. vetoed it because we've learned by now that our Republican friends want turnout as low as possible. They know they're getting their 23% to show up at the polls every midterm no matter what. Our Democratic friends have to find a way to coerce the other 73% to the 77% rather to show up.
Well, let's replace the word coerce with encourage.
Well, yeah, exactly, and it's pretty.
Although in Australia they coerce, you get basically a traffic ticket if you don't vote, and the next year if you don't vote, I think it goes from like $25 to $100 to a couple $100. It goes up fairly steeply, fairly quickly if you don't vote. So they get 98% participation.
I think finding people for not voting sort of gets in the way of the freedom aspect of it all. But look at Scotland; they had 85% turnout for the separation from the UK vote. Tom, if we could get 85% of Americans to turn out to vote, Congress would have to show up to work.
If we had 85% of Americans showing up to vote, John Fugelsang, we would be back in the middle of the FDR administration. We'd have a New Deal.
I know Ken Burns would have to make a whole new movie.
There you go, because that's where America's at. John Fugelsang, FUGELSANG.com, that website, and also standupny.com. Check it out. John, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Tom. If it's sold out, come to our free open rehearsal.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Hang on just a second. Say that again, quickly.
If you're sold out, if it's sold out, please feel free to come to our free open rehearsal upstairs at Stand Up New York Labs on Wednesday night at 8 p.m.
Great. Thanks, John.